So we're in Kyoto this morning. We're going for a run to the Fushimi Inari Shrine, which is usually packed full of tourists, but we figure as long as we run early enough, we'll miss all of that trouble. We'll see you there. All three of us chose Adidas Evo SLs, the perfect do-it-all shoes for this sort of an adventure. Actually, we've got a review coming up of the new Evo SL woven model, so be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out. We were staying near Kyoto Station and the route began on some pretty busy nondescript streets. I'll talk more about how I came up with the route later. There was lots of waiting at crossroads, at the start at least, until we crossed the Kamogawa River. I'll be exploring these riverside paths you'll see here along the sides of the river on runs over the next few weeks. I filmed this construction zone here because I just wanted it to serve as a warning to anyone who, like me, likes to run with headphones. In most Japanese cities you will be forced onto roads, so best to leave the AirPods at home so that you remain aware of where the traffic's coming from. There are a lot of very narrow streets, a lot of places where everyone walks on the road, and a lot of areas like this where construction kind of forces you sometimes onto the road. And of course, it's not just cars you'll have to wait for at crossings, but trains too. So after about 15 minutes of stop-start running, we arrived at the Fushimi Inari Taisha Shrine grounds. We arrived at about 7:45 a.m, not really early enough to have the lower reaches of the mountain to ourselves, but once we got up high it was fine. We walked while we were in the shrine grounds. We're not sure if running the mountain pathways would appear disrespectful when you're in shrine grounds, so we played it safe to ensure we didn't offend. And I've got to say, the Adidas Evo SLs were brilliant for this sort of paved, steep trail walking. The Fushimi Inari Taisha Shrine is also known as the Mountain of 1,000 Torii Gates, although these days it's probably more like 10,000 Torii Gates. I think there are over 10,000 gates on the mountain. It's a Shinto shrine that was founded in the year 711, but relocated to its current location in the year 817, and it is dedicated to Inari, the goddess of rice and the patron saint of traders and business people. Today, most of the Torii gates, speaking of business people, are sponsored by businesses around Japan. Torii gates, by the way, are traditional entrances to Shinto shrines. They're intended to mark the separation of the physical world from the world of the gods. The walk up the Torii Gate path and stairways to the top of the mountain takes you through various exotic types of forests, and it really is a unique and mystical and beautiful experience, and it's kind of made more enjoyable by the fact that you got there under your own steam. I would recommend this place to any runner who comes to Kyoto. It is a wonderful place to come, particularly early in the morning when, like here, you can have the top of the mountain to yourselves. You will also pass tens of thousands of statues of these mythical foxes. They're known as kitsune. They're the earthly messenger of the rice goddess. And of course, after you've gone over the top of the mountain, it is all downhill from there. Although you do start to feel it in the legs if you have run there. On the way down those steep stairways and some of those steeper pathways, the knees can get a bit wobbly. And after about an hour on the mountain with slightly wobbly legs from all the stairs, it was time to start the run back home. So I mentioned that I'd talk about how I came up with the route. First, I asked Garmin to draw up the route, and that one looked very, very straight and boring, sticking to fairly main busy roads. Kind of like the 48-minute suggestion in this Apple Maps set of options, the suggestion there on the right. So I moved off the Garmin app and moved over to Apple Maps, which gave these three suggestions. I liked the look of the 45-minute and the 47-minute courses. They looked more interesting, so I then manually input them into my Garmin app so the course would be shown on my Garmin watch. I also shared the map with Jenny, so it would also show on her watch. And of course we had to wait for another train crossing. And then we crossed back over the Kamogawa River, which I will see on another run in a few days' time. And around 10 minutes of lovely relaxed jogging later, we were back in our home area. All right, the run's done. That was absolutely fantastic. Turns out we left a little bit late. We left about 7:30 in the morning. Last time Jenny and I did this, we probably left about 6 in the morning. Got to Fushimi Inari in a much less crowded state. In fact, last time we went there, we were pretty much the only people there. But this time there were quite a few people down low. But once you start getting up the mountain, we had almost the whole place to ourselves, which was completely fantastic. Awesome run. Can't wait for the next one. We'll see you then.